Let's do our progress report right now on RJ Barrett, because you just put him in the same sentence as Julius Randle.
Well, I did say to a lesser extent. I wouldn't, they're not in the same universe right here, but you see games that RJ able to do. And, in terms of streakiness, that's the one thing I'd like RJ to work on. I'm sure we all would, is the fact that he gets very hot and then cools off dramatically and then gets hot again and then starts to get ice cold. And finding some sort of equilibrium would be beneficial, of course, but you then keep reminding yourself, okay, second season, still figuring things out, still a new coach this year. He's had 3 in his career. How's he going to get to figure this out? He's a hard worker. Hopefully something turns soon, but that'll take time.
So here's the thing with RJ. Just looking at tonight, right? He ended up taking 20 shots. He was 10 for 20. Julius Randle was 8 of 16. So they shot the exact same percentage. RJ took 4 more shots. Barrett got 21 points and Randle got 25. There was a point in the first half because I looked at the box score at the point when this had happened. And I think Barrett had taken 2 more shots than Randle. I want to say at the time he was 5 of 10 for 10 points. And I believe Randle had taken 8 shots and he had 17 points. Randle missed some shots in the second half. But I think there was this notion coming into the year, and maybe at one point in the beginning of the year, that there was this 1 and 1A scenario or like an A and a B, but I think at this point where we have to face the reality that this is Julius Randle's team and everybody else is just there. And there are different variations of a guy. And RJ, I think the conversation has to be, if we're being realistic about this team, which I don't even know if it's worth having this conversation, because it's not about this year. It's about beyond this, but building good habits and getting wins and all of the stuff that we talk about and we make a big deal about. Yes, that's all important. But really, we're projecting. So me coming on here and disparaging RJ Barrett by saying he's worlds away from Julius Randle is not useful. It's not going to make anybody happy. And it's quite frankly probably not a good use of any of our time. But I do think that it is important when we're talking about what is the next step to at least point it out, because you have Randle and then you're like, okay, there's the group of RJ, quickly in some order. And then you want to throw Mitch in there, I guess. You want to throw Toppin on the periphery of that, I guess. But because I just think RJ has not earned. Here's my takeaway from a lot of what I saw tonight. And you tell me if this is unfair. RJ Barrett had the ball a lot tonight. Tibbs gave him the ball and was like, here, go, make a play, make something happen. And a couple of times he made something happen. And a bunch of times he didn't. And Julius Randle, when you've given him the ball and you're like, make a play, he just makes it a lot more than RJ has this year, as he should. He's 26. RJ's 20. But in terms of where this team is trying to go this year, I was just watching and I found myself getting frustrated because I'm like, I don't know that he's earned these possessions, even though they may be in furtherance of some greater goal. And I almost wished I could take back those possessions and replace them with something where there's more ball movement and maybe there's a kick out to an open 3-point shooter and there's not RJ going one on, whatever he's going on. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And I know that was probably a bit muddled, but you get where I'm kind of going with this?
I do. I mean, as you pointed out, RJ's 20 and Randle is 26 years old. RJ's in his second year. Randle's finally coming into his own in the 7th year of his NBA career. And yeah, you want to see more ball movement. I mean, that was certainly a problem in the fourth quarter. There was too much ISO to the point where you just couldn't find open shooters. And, I think a lot of people probably are looking at the fact that the Knicks only took 18 threes and throwing their hands up in the air. The Wolves are actually, I want to say, the best team in the NBA in terms of limiting 3-point attempts. So clearly they defend the 3 very well in terms of avoiding teams to get shots off, which of course puts more pressure. But for a team that's already, not going to space the floor starting lineup wise anyway, that should kind of be their bread and butter in some ways. In terms of RJ, yeah, you want to see more ball movement. Absolutely. But it's the sort of thing of okay, well, who's he necessarily going to pass it to, right? Because if he's passing it in the starting lineup, He could pass it to Randall, who's already moving the ball and basically serving as your primary. You've got Reggie Bullock, who is going to catch and shoot or spot up. Not that much that he's going to do with creating.
It would be Bullock and Burks, right?
Right. But again, like, you have it down the stretch, maybe so. And Burks is able to hit a lot of shots. But RJ's not playing a lot of his minutes with Burks. He's playing his minutes with
you're right.
Elfrid Payton, who, how many times is RJ going to drive and kick out to Elf in the quarter and just bricking it? Far too much for my liking, for anyone's liking.
No, you're right.
Or
you're right.
Noel's not going to create for anyone. Maybe he'll have a DHO every now and then. But he's not the most gifted of passers either. So I think it's really hard to evaluate players when they're stuck playing with guys who can't do very much. Like with Mitchell Robinson, he's had an uneven season. I'd say he's taken steps forward, but he's not doing, at least in terms of, for example, field goal percentage, right? He's not finishing quite as well as he did last season. Well, what's a big reason why? Perhaps it's because he doesn't have a floor general who's able to feed him the ball. The Knicks are still ass in transition. He's great in transition, but if there's not someone who can be an engine, how can he finish? And so that's kind of how I look at it with RJ, where yes, he's 20. Yes, he has not had the opportunities yet to show whether or not he's able to convert continuously, but you have to start somewhere. It's the chicken or the egg. If you're not giving him the opportunities, then he's not getting them. And if he's not getting them, then, you're having issues with giving it to him.
It is giving him the ball and letting him try to get buckets is the proper next step for his evolution as a player, which is in furtherance of the Knicks' long-term goals, which is why I realize, as I'm saying, I'm coming on here and being like, I'm not comfortable with those possessions. That's stupid of me, because if you really care about this team winning a championship, again, acknowledge they're not winning a championship this year. And this is the year to get those reps in. I guess I don't know. We do this. We all are always thinking further down the road and down the line and like, what are the other moves? And I really do feel like this team is coming up to a pivot point. Well, basically they go one of three directions, right? Let's just put it out there. They could stay the road. Is that the expression? Stay the road?
Stay the course.
Stay the course. Stay the course. Yes. So whatever course they're on, they could stay it or stay on it.
Stay on it.
Stay on it. Stay it. Yeah, whatever.
It's just another notch in the bedpost.
They could make some kind of a win now move. Not trading away anything that matters, right? Not trading away RJ, not trading away obviously quickly or Mitch or who am I forgetting? Obi. That would be very stupid. But some kind of a win now move. Maybe they trade away a draft pick. Maybe they whatever. Or they could trade away Julius Randle for something and go in that direction. And I'm like 85%. I just want them to stay the course. But I do think they're coming up on an interesting point here. And I just wonder, I don't know. I wonder what they're thinking and what their preference is and how much games like what we saw this week are influencing their decision. Are they just watching these games and being like, all right, this is the team that we thought that we would be. You win some, you lose some. We have a better record than we thought we'd be. Let's just keep riding it out. This is great. Or are they looking at this and being like, man, if we just had one more guy, we would really be able to do some damage in a poor conference and, get into the playoffs and maybe put a scare into a team. And then who knows what happens in the offseason. Like or do they look at it and they're like, wow, we're really a ways away. Do we make a bigger? So I think it's an interesting inflection point on the season. That's why I thought these games were interesting.